The soundbite you won't forget. More than 10,000 fatal car chases, pursuit-related crashes in the United States over the last 2 decades, and many of them began with a decision to run. I remember feeling that jolt the first time I watched a live chase unfold. The cameras glued to the cars like moths to a flame. That instant thrill turns into something else when rubber meets asphalt and choices have no rewind. Today I'm promising you a hard lesson. Speed creates consequences, and those consequences rarely care about intent. We'll walk through 7 chases, some famous, some anonymous, each ending badly in ways that could have been prevented. My goal isn't to glorify danger, it's to show the cost of split-second decisions and to force a sober conversation about safety, accountability, community. This video is structured to pull you through the spectacle into the aftermath, the surprise, the science of loss of control, the legal fallout, and the human toll. At roughly 12 minutes, I'll tell each story with the detail it deserves and leave you with one unavoidable truth. Running rarely ends well. Stay with me. I remember the day like a weird, heavy dream. June 17th, 1994. A low, slow white Ford Bronco traveling north on the 405 freeway with a man inside wanted for double homicide. Every channel found it, every home tuned in, and television ceased to be background noise. It was the kind of live spectacle that rewired how people thought about media and justice. The chase crawled along at 30 miles per hour, but it felt like an apocalypse of attention. Helicopter footage hovered, anchors whispered, and the country watched a man in sunglasses sit silently, collective breath-holding. In that silence, assumptions were made, and courtroom theater began off-screen. Legally, the chase didn't free him. It complicated the case and fed a cultural moment that blurred guilt, fame, and performance. The Bronco became a symbol, spun repeatedly through news cycles, tabloids, late-night jokes. But behind that symbol were ruins, victims, families, and a justice system dragged through media spectacle. Imagine a late-night freeway, rain-slick pavement reflecting neon, and a small car weaving between lanes like a thread through fabric. Officers are following, lights flashing, sirens muted by distance. It's the sort of scene that begins with a traffic stop refusal and escalates into a choreographed disaster with no rehearsals. The driver is inexperienced, or panicked, or both. Every input is exaggerated. Speed spikes, then drops, then spikes again as they misjudge curves. In the dark, a bridge approach compresses perspective. Speed becomes a predator. The camera, likely a patrol dash or helicopter feed, shows a vehicle fishtailing before contact. The impact is sudden, visceral, and merciless. When metal meets concrete at speed, there's little grace. The car somersaults, airbags deploy in a futile theater, and first responders must choose between life-saving interventions and scene safety. What begins as an individual choice to flee becomes a communal emergency. Lanes closed, emergency lights blinking, traffic diverted for hours while professionals piece together the aftermath. The story begins small. A hot-wired SUV taken by teenagers on a dare, or an impulsive decision in a moment of poor judgment. At first it's petty, a stolen vehicle joyride, but decisions compound. An inexperienced driver with a powerful vehicle takes corners too fast. The situation becomes a cascade. Urban streets are crowded with variables, parked cars, pedestrians, staggered light cycles. An SUV doesn't handle like a compact car. Its higher center of gravity makes it prone to rollovers if you overcorrect. That technical fact plays a cruel role when the chase crosses city blocks. It can culminate at an overpass or at a median. When the SUV impacts a barrier, the force is pronounced. Metal folds, glass shatters, and in many of these wrecks, a fire starts quickly. Gasoline, hot engines, ruptured lines. A vehicle designed to protect occupants becomes a furnace. Witnesses describe an orange bloom, the smell of burning plastic. Wrong-way collisions are the kind of incident that feels like nature taking a brutal joke too far. A driver enters the freeway against traffic, sometimes drunk, sometimes disoriented, sometimes intentionally fleeing. Vehicles barreling in the correct lane have no time to react. The result is almost always catastrophic. In one case, a routine pullover turned into a nightmare when the suspect went the wrong way onto the highway. The first minutes are panic. Horns blare, headlights flash, motorists swerve to avoid impact, causing secondary collisions. These multi-vehicle tragedies multiply harm exponentially. Collateral victims are the hardest part to digest. People out on errands, commuters returning home, parents driving children, their lives are changed in an instant. Families ask the hardest questions. Why was the chase allowed to continue? Wrong-way collisions that kill innocents trigger outrage and memorials. Rural roads have a false intimacy. They feel safer because they're quieter. But that quiet hides hazards. A chase down a two-lane country road introduces trees, narrow shoulders, endless curves. High speed on those roads is a recipe for sudden, uncontrollable outcomes. Lined with ditches separated from farmland by a few feet of gravel. At high speed, any miscalculation becomes irreversible. Overcorrecting to avoid an animal or an oncoming car can send a vehicle into a ditch where the car flips, slides, disintegrates against natural obstacles. In these rural pursuits, help takes longer to arrive. Cell service may be patchy. An overturned vehicle can sit invisible from the main road for precious minutes. The best prevention is the decision not to flee. A pit maneuver, precision immobilization technique, is designed to end a chase cleanly by tapping a suspect's rear quarter panel to induce a spin and stop. In theory, it's controlled and tactical. In practice, physics can change everything. Speed, vehicle type, road conditions. Officers describe the heavy calculus behind each pit decision, suspect's threat profile surrounding traffic, relative safety of the maneuver. When a pit goes right, it ends danger quickly. When it goes wrong, consequences are immediate and extreme. Roofs collapse, occupants are ejected, innocent bystanders can be hurt. In one incident, a suspect in a high center of gravity SUV was struck with a pit at the end of a chase. The SUV rolled repeatedly, and what began as a tactical success transformed into a multi-person rescue. So when you hear about a pit gone wrong, remember the underlying truth.